So you've decided that you want to get into a small business. You've decided that you want to get into a startup or start selling your own product or your service. And the first thing that you want to do is actually establish your company, establish your business. Well, you're going to need some tech tips. In today's video, we're going to go through 6 tips that I think that you need to know when you're starting up your own business. These are going to be things that are going to help you in the future. So we're going to actually establish a good foundation of all the tech that you'll be using, and we're going to set it up all so that you can stop thinking about it and really focus on your business and selling your service and your product and your marketing. Just make sure that you guys are really focusing on what needs a lot of attention. So I think that this stuff should be easy. Setting up all these tech, all the subscriptions, and all of the domains and the emails, all of that stuff should be simple. We should just smash that out of the way so that we can really start to hammer down and really focus on our businesses and start selling our product and start doing our marketing. But before we get started, I'm not going to ask you to hit that like button just yet, because you should leave that to the end. Because I think if you really like the video, you should watch a lot more of the video and then hit the like button. But if you do see value in the videos that you've watched so far, and if you think that I am providing you guys good value, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Let's go. So when people start a business, one of the first things that they want to do is they want to register their domain. So what exactly is the domain? A domain is your .com or your .com.au or your .org or your .net. So for example, if you're going to be Cloud Context, then you're going to have a website or a domain called cloudcontext.com.au. Now, unless you're in the tech industry or you have a bit of knowledge around the tech field, you're probably not going to know the ins and outs of what a domain is. But just know this: if you want to have emails, and I think this is very important to have emails with your domain, so make sure you're not using like a Gmail account or a Yahoo account or a Live account or something like that, then you need your own domain. And that's one of the first things that you should register. So if I'm starting a business called Cloud Context, for example, I'll go and I'll register my domain, or I'll go and purchase a domain called cloudcontext.com.au. Now, generally, when you're thinking of a business name or a company name, I would go and actually check if that domain is available first before I commit to that domain. So I think it's very important to have a domain that matches your company name. So why is it important to register your domain? Because you need your domain name. You need your cloudcontext.com.au. But what I would suggest is also spending a bit more money, if you can, to get the surrounding domains. So for example, if I'm going to get cloudcontext.com.au, I'll try and also get cloudcontext.com, cloudcontext.online, cloudcontext.net. So try and capture all your domains. And this is just sort of securing it for the future, because in the future, unfortunately, some people go and, if your business blows up, someone will go and find a similar domain to yours and they'll register it in their name, and they can use it for things like email spoofing, or they can try and sell you the domain or something like that. So I would always suggest buying a few domains that are similar to yours. So .online, .cloud, .net, .net.au. Try and go and register a few of them. What the domain is going to do is going to allow you to have your website. It's going to allow you to have your emails. It's going to allow you to have your presence on the internet named appropriately. The next most important tip that I have for you is to set up your emails. So one of the most important things that we do in business is we communicate via email. A lot of the time, companies are communicating to other companies using email. So for example, a lot of business to business conversations go via emails. So if I'm looking to contact another managed service provider, I might contact them via email, most likely via email, even before I call them. A lot of the time you want to send emails, or you want to have a mailing list, or you want to have a newsletter, or you want to send invoices, or you want to have a contact form on your website, or you want to present an email on your business card. All these things need you to have an actual email provider. It's very easy to get caught up with using the email providers that your domain service provider will actually offer you. So I'm not going to mention any names, but there is very big companies out there, domain registers, that also pose as web hosting and email hosting companies. Some of them even leverage bigger organizations like Microsoft 365. What I would suggest is that just do it yourself. So just set up your emails on your own, in your own email provider. Don't just go where it's convenient, because really at the end of the day, you want something that's very compatible. And I'm just going to give you 2 options here. The two options are either Google, and I think it's called Google Workspace now, might have been called Google G Suite in the past. So this isn't the normal Google Mail or Gmail. This is the more business focused side. So you want to make sure you're able to have your own domain name, for example. You want to have some features like shared mailboxes. So you don't want to have one email address. So your name at cloudcontext.com. You want to have elias.addy@cloudcontext.com.au. Plus, you want to have something like info@cloudcontext.com.au or sales or accounts@cloudcontext.com.au. You need to think about having these multiple accounts. So to do so, you should go with a better mail provider. Maybe someone like Microsoft 365. That's what we sell. I don't really have any sort of benefit in telling you guys to go down that path, but what I can tell you is that for all our customers, whether they're a one-man organization or 1,000-man organization, that's what works really well. It works well on your phone. It works well in shared mailboxes. It has great security. A lot of customers also use Gmail, but it's really personal preference. I like to use Microsoft 365. That's what we know really well, and that's what I'll always recommend. What you need to remember is that emails are not storage. When you think of emails, don't think of somewhere where you're going to store your documents, because emails are just for communication. So keep that in mind when you're looking at what type of services your mail provider has. Microsoft 365 and Google will both have lots of services that allow you to collaborate with your documents and store your documents. Some of them are extra features, some of them are included. Just have a think about all of that. So what I'm trying to say is maybe don't skimp out on the cheapest plan for your emails. Look at the one that suits you the most, because you want a solid foundation of where you're putting emails and documents and storing files. Which leads me to my next point, document management. So document management, we think about it in many different ways. So where are you going to store your documents? How are you going to store your customers' documents? How are you going to store things like invoices, forms, templates, Word documents that you receive, forms that you fill out and then send to someone, or maybe forms that you receive. You really need to think about where you're going to store all of these, especially if you're an organization who's collecting people's data, because you actually need to consider where it's going to be stored. So one example is if you're collecting people's private data in Australia, then you need to consider that you cannot store that data overseas. It all needs to be stored in Australia. In our Privacy Act, it stipulates that we do need to keep that data that we collect from our users in Australian storage. And you can achieve that using most common services like Microsoft 365 and Google. So what I suggest is to think about the type of documents you're going to store. A lot of the documents you're going to store are going to have people's details in there. Maybe some of them will just be things that you are going to send to users or things that you've received. Doesn't necessarily have to be users' details in there, but I do think you should still store them securely regardless. So something like Microsoft 365, you can actually use OneDrive or SharePoint within that application suite, and you can store your documents there. And once you grow and you have more people that you're collaborating with, it's a very good platform to be able to share securely. You can grow. It's very scalable, so you don't have to worry about how many documents you're storing in there and how many users you can share it with. That is all just taken care of by Microsoft. There is also Google. There is I think what they call it in Google is maybe Google Drive. You can share all your storage in there. You can share your documents in there. You can store securely in there as well. The biggest thing is to make sure that it's secure. So make sure that there is an option for you to actually have multi-factor authentication, for example. My next tip is to sort out your accounting system. Another thing I think you need to get out of the way very fast is your accounting setup. So yes, you have an accountant. I'm sure your accountant will give you lots of advice, but you also need to know what you need to store, how you need to store it, where you need to put it, how long you need to keep it for. What I find is the best way to do this is to have some sort of accounting software. So I use Xero personally. I know IT very, very well. What I don't know very well is accounting. So what I do is I have my Xero subscription, and in that Xero subscription, it basically just takes care of all my cash flow. It takes care of all my invoicing. It takes care of all my spending. So at the end of the financial year, my accountant has access to my Xero, and that's through her own account, and I give her access to my Xero, and she can see all of my bank feeds and all of my invoicing, all of my ins and outs, and all of my cash flow. And that just makes it a lot easier for me to not have to actually manually track everything. because it all happens in Xero, and I sort of just have to go in there once a month and reconcile things. This isn't an advertisement for Xero. There's probably many other products out there that do the same thing. I just don't know them. I think what you need to do is probably speak to an accountant and let them know what you're doing, and they'll probably tell you what they're comfortable with. I would rather pick my accountant first and let them pick my software, because I'd rather have the knowledge of the accountant, but as long as they can work with my system. So get that out of the way. It's very easy to set up an accounting subscription now. Most of the modern type of accounting software can actually go in now and look at your bank feeds, and there's APIs into your bank feed. So you can actually look at the spendings and the earnings, and then you can go and reconcile them against receipts and spendings and whatnot. Makes it a lot easier for you and your accountant at the end of the financial year, when tax time comes around. Social media. Okay, so I'm not a really big social media guy, which probably sounds a bit funny because these videos go on YouTube, but I'm not really that active on things like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those sort of things. I'm not very active on them now. I would like to be, and I'd like to have a bit more time to be, but I'm not. What I'm saying is, if you do intend to do social media, or even if you think you might, I would go and set up all of your social media accounts now. I'll tell you why that is. You need to make sure that all your social media accounts use the same name. So if you have Snapchat and it's Elias Atty, you need to make sure that your Instagram is Elias Atty, and your YouTube is Elias Atty, and your Facebook is Elias Atty, and your LinkedIn is Elias Atty. That's my recommendation. So I've seen a lot of influencers or a lot of YouTubers say the same thing, and I couldn't agree more, to be honest. I think that it's very important to have a common name through all of your social media. It's very important to get it registered as soon as possible. What I hate to see is a company that just all of a sudden launches their business and they start smashing all their social media and releasing all these posts, and it just, to me, I think that the earlier the company starts, the better, because when I look at a business, so for example, I don't know, someone that sells mattresses, that person sells mattresses for one day and their social media was started yesterday, then I'm a bit skeptical of using that company. Like, it's a 1 day old company. When the mattress company is 1 day old, if their social media looks like it's 1 day old, as in like it has one post, then that's a bit worrying to me. So my suggestion here is, as soon as you think of your business and you've really committed to the business, start posting straight away. It doesn't matter if you're not selling. It doesn't matter if you're not getting all your products out there and your products are incomplete on your website and you don't even have all your stock yet. Just start posting on your social media outlets anyway, because I think it's a very good idea to just really get in there and just start putting content out, so that when you actually go for that full big grand opening, you're not working with a clean slate. Okay, so last but not least, absolutely not least, is security. Cybersecurity is a huge thing now. In the IT industry, we've always seen companies getting attacked. So we've continuously seen small business, medium business, large businesses getting attacked from malicious actors, or getting attacked by email spoofs or email phishing campaigns. We continuously see this, but what we're seeing more and more and more of in the past couple of years is the attack on small businesses. So even companies that have 5, 6 users, they're getting really attacked right now. So what people will do is they'll go on to LinkedIn and they'll find out a lot of information about your company, because you're out there trying to advertise your company, trying to sell your service, trying to sell your product. You're out there on the internet, you're putting all your information out there. And unfortunately, what that means is that you get people that go in and they look at this type of stuff, and they really can build a good case on you, and they can really socially engineer a really good attack on your company. So put that aside, because this isn't a cybersecurity video. What you need to do with your business is make sure that you've set up security from day one. So one thing I would recommend is multi-factor authentication on every single account of yours. So whether it's your personal Facebook account, whether it's your company WhatsApp account, whether it's your LinkedIn or your YouTube or your bank login or your Xero login, all of this stuff needs to have multi-factor authentication. Another thing is to make sure you're not using shared accounts. So this will really resonate with other IT engineers that may watch these videos. What we see too much of is shared accounts. So, okay, I'll give you guys an example. Let's say that Joe Blow owns a company and his email is joeblow@company.com. Joe Blow has a receptionist. Joe Blow, rather than giving the receptionist their own email, will sit there and just give them his account. So they'll be signing in with his account. So every day they're signing in with his account. They're acting like Joe Blow. First of all, there's a problem there with accountability. We don't know if Joe Blow's receptionist goes in and deletes 100 emails in the inbox. We don't know who it was. We don't have solid evidence saying who it was. Secondly, if you're using something like a shared account, then you can't have multi-factor authentication because you can only have multi-factor authentication against one phone. So we know that when there's one user who's sharing their accounts with multiple people, there's no chance that they're going to have a good security setup. So this is where you have to spend a bit more money and make sure that you're purchasing those correct licenses to allow you to use things like multi-factor authentication and to allow you to create people their own accounts and to allow you to create shared mailboxes. Because, for example, maybe you want to give the receptionist their own mailbox. Maybe it should be administrator or admin or sales at company.com. That's my suggestion for security. I think it's very important for anyone who's starting up a business these days to really have security at front of mind. You need to think about who has access to your documents or who might gain access to your documents if something is set up insecurely. So keep it at front of mind when you're starting a business because it's harder to come back from an attack than it is to prevent an attack. Lastly, when it comes to security, if you're not sure, ask a professional. There's lots of information out there on Google. There's lots of information you can get from managed service provider websites. If you have a couple of questions, drop them in the comment section below. Send me a message on LinkedIn, send me an email. It's not hard to get the answers you're looking for. Maybe we'll respond with something you don't want to hear, like you have to spend X amount of money to get this type of security, but it's good to know. And look, you don't always have to pay for a full consultancy service for security. There's lots of free information out there. That's enough from me today. I hope that's been helpful. Good luck with your business ventures. Hope that you guys do well. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. And as always, like and subscribe for more value.